games come and go every single year and I'm fucking sick of them.
But less common, especially nowadays, are games that come out and are considered influential or even groundbreaking, which is why it's so impressive that no series has had more innovations attributed to it than Resident Evil. Innovations including single-handedly establishing and popularising survival horror as a genre. If, rightfully, you can't sit through this, which is pretty much everyone, don't lie. Being the first game to use stunning pre-rendered backgrounds in the way it did to create realistic-looking immersive environments and a tense atmosphere, as long as you don't count these. And most impressively of all, launching a long-running, successful series of games that still exist today, with the latest installment being the 7th, although in reality there's been more like 7T, and some of those aren't a remake of the first game. Although the style varies, sometimes massively, between each game, one thing is certain: you literally cannot go wrong with some Resident Evil. As a kid, it was always Capcom's alternative to Silent Hill for people who didn't like Silent Hill, and Metal Gear Solid for those who didn't like Metal Gear Solid. That's probably the stupidest thing I've ever said, it's up there at least. Which was obviously why, during the time in the series wherein it existed as one of the best trilogies ever made, followed by one of the best games ever made, Capcom looked at their series, famous for its huge, perfectly designed artistic environments, deep, rich, immersive atmosphere, amazing hi-fi sound design, awful characters and voice acting, and said, that sounds perfect for the Game Boy Color, a console that can't fucking do any of that. But if you thought it was Capcom themselves that were going to get anywhere near that time bomb, you'd be more than wrong. You'd have a severe, untreated head injury. Instead, they hired an external British team called M4 to risk their non-existent reputation. Although I will give them that they did send them 2 Capcom employees to at least pretend they cared, even if they were the janitor and the other janitor. So what can we conclude from this? That it probably had nothing to do with quick, riskless money whatsoever, I'm sure. And obviously, I'm not 100% certain of that, but I'm not uncertain of it either. So I'll show them you're getting none of my money. Haha, I was probably gonna do this anyway. The game opens by firing you deep into Resident Evil lore, right in between 2 interesting events and allowing you to play through the not interesting one in the middle. And although I'm the kind of person that normally loves this kind of stuff, you'd have to forgive me if looking for Leon doesn't elicit any excitement whatsoever, because if there's 2 things I know about Leon, it's that 1, he's probably got this, and that 2, he's probably gonna say some dumb shit while doing it. Leon is sent to investigate a luxury cruise ship that's said to be carrying Umbrella's latest bioweapon, but he loses contact with HQ and Barry is sent to find out why. You know Barry, right? You know your dad. He's basically everyone's dad. The first question everyone always has is how have they managed to fuck up keeping it a horror game this time? And the answer is instantaneous. 2 enemies straight away before you've even realised that the button you use to get in the fucking door is the button required to get in the door. Because clearly they've opted for the more tense and stressful form of scares, which of course means they're not scares at all and just really annoying things. Atmosphere, however, is another thing, and it's perfect thanks entirely to this pixel art and colour palette. Seriously, I'd hang this shit on my wall if I wanted my mum to think I was a fucking psychopath. And although Barry is literally just a huge square, he's still, believe it or not, somehow not the most perfectly square Resident Evil character. Instead of just being a top-down 2D version of Resident Evil's gameplay though, they attempted to smoothly and seamlessly convert the high-octane in-depth precision combat system of the 3D games into 2D by making every single encounter a timing minigame. Now you know me, I'm a pretty easygoing kind of guy, it doesn't take much to please me, so it's gonna no doubt astonish you to find out that I fucking hate it. Believe me, I know more than anyone how much of a really cool, unique and good idea this looks, because it is, for the first 10 minutes. It's just that after that, the phrase slamming my foot in a door comes to mind. If you have eyes, I can tell you it works exactly how it looks like it does, except in real time, and I mean real time. No timeouts, no pausing, no breathers, nothing. In fact, it's worse than nothing, because if you're doing anything other than shooting, like running or using an item, the enemies actually speed up their attacks as opposed to giving you any form of a break whatsoever. Which is really weird, because you'd assume that surely any kind of fuck up in the menu is a result of the game's design and not your timing or skill. But hey, who am I to judge? If you're someone that likes this kind of rhythm style gameplay, then you have really shit tasting gameplay. Outside of the combat, the gameplay is kept fairly intact, involving primarily running around exploring this bleak abandoned hellscape in desperate search search of any fun at all. In between, obviously, the obligatory puzzles, which are here very reluctantly, like my alcoholic primary school teacher. I'd praise them only for making me feel like the brain-dead retard I am, not because they're hard, but the opposite. Every single one involves retrieving some form of item from the other side of the map in order to open one of the many locked doors that this game does not need any more of, for fuck's sake. And the very moment that begins to bore me is also the moment I realise that it's just a simplified version of what I love about the Resident Evil trilogy, and I can only come back with... shut up. Although, to be fair, it does not help the game's case that all the items are specifically labelled with the floor and room they need to be used in. Not that it would have been any better without that, but I'm still left trying to come up with a reason as to why it's any different from the shape puzzles in Resident Evil 2. But it's not entirely a bad thing, since it speeds up the progression of the story and the game ends sooner. You locate the BOW, although you also locate a 13-year-old girl, and the game almost begins to hint that Umbrella's weapon was going to have been the girl this whole time, but then Leon's head literally slides in from off screen. Leon Kennedy. Yeah, there he is. And practically calls you a fucking idiot for imagining a better plot than the actual plot, so it's nice to see that some aspects of a Resident Evil game made it across, along with your classic entirely useless knife, handgun, shotgun, rocket launcher. That is the saddest phrase I have ever read in my life. Stiff controls, annoying characters, and herbs. I wouldn't mind some fucking herb right now. Haha, hey, am I right? And overall, they did a pretty good job making it feel like one, even though that clearly wasn't their intention, being sold on Resident Evil like you've never seen it before. Yeah, not good. And as for the new features, there's a party system, so naturally I gave the little girl the grenade launcher. Half the passengers are carrying handgun ammo, which I feel may have been a little detail they might have just glossed over too hastily. And a soundtrack that genuinely made me consider whether losing my hearing in some sort of freak whatever is nearest to me stabbing accident would have actually been a bad thing in the long term. And really, that combined with its existence is the only true scary thing about the game. And I mean that literally, since the game's developers today are... dead. Oh good. As well as the fact that no one bought it in the first place means it exists like a found footage horror movie or a mysterious time capsule. One day a company started development on a game, faced unknown brutal hardships to finally release their legacy to the world, their swan song only to instantly disappear mysteriously. Except you play it and it's just really shit.